Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to the Spanish Grand Prix debrief. So that wasn't exactly a great race, but then again, I wasn't really expecting much and it had a very familiar Spanish Grand Prix feel to it. Also familiar, and again, I guess pretty much expected, was the result. Lewis Hamilton took his third win of the season and led home teammate Valtteri Bottas for yet another Mercedes 1-2. Max Verstappen was third for Red Bull for the second year in a row in Spain, with Sebastian Vettel fourth and Charles Leclerc in fifth. Pierre Gasly was sixth in the second Red Bull, with Kevin Magnussen seventh and Carlos Sainz in eighth. And then rounding out the points-paying positions were Daniel Kvyat and Roman Grosjean. Alexander Albon narrowly missed out on a point in 11th place, with Daniel Ricciardo 12th and Nico Hülkenberg 13th. Kimi Raikkonen's run of point-scoring finishes came to an end in 14th, with Sergio Perez 15th and the second Alfa in 16th. And then obviously it is the two Williams boys, with Russell 17th and Robert Kubica in 18th. And your retirements list for Spain, two drivers, Lance Stroll and Lando Norris. So that is now 5 consecutive 1-2 finishes for Mercedes in 2019, and right now they look absolutely unstoppable. Incredible from them. It was also Lewis Hamilton's third consecutive win in Spain, and the last driver to do that was Michael Schumacher, who actually won 4 in a row from 2001 to 2004. After the race, the world champion revealed that he wasn't happy with the balance of the car right up until the start of the race, and had to alter his driving style in order to get the best out of the car and the tyres. When we went out to do the laps to the grid, I wasn't very happy with the balance still, so I had to make some changes, had to alter my driving style a little bit. Normally with the tyres I'm pretty good, but I think that's a weak area. It's not that I can't do it, I've just got to discover it. That's what I'll put some effort towards. When the lights went out, my initial getaway was quite good, and we were very close all the way down into turn 1. I think the Ferrari was alongside us at 1.2, so it was a great battle and also a decisive moment in the race. After that, I just had to keep my head down and focus on trying to deliver each lap. As we've seen over the first 5 races, the start proved to be critical as Hamilton got the jump over teammate Valtteri Bottas. After that, quite frankly, the Brit never looked back and controlled the race from there. Once again, another excellent performance from Hamilton. Bottas never really looked like he had the pace to challenge, in all honesty, and confirmed post-race that the reason for his slower getaway was due to a vibrating clutch issue. I had an issue with my clutch at the start. It was vibrating and it seemed like it was biting and releasing at a very quick frequency, so my initial getaway was really poor. Unfortunately, that meant that all the hard work of the weekend was lost at the start. For me personally, it wasn't the best of days, but from a team's perspective, it was a really good weekend. Congratulations to Lewis for the win. He had a strong race pace today. The team is performing at an incredible level at the moment. Let's be honest, Mercedes look to be in complete and total control of both championships as they leave Spain, and it is going to take a mammoth effort for any team to stop the Silver Arrows, making it 6 world titles in a row. And yes, I know that may seem like a ridiculous statement after just 5 races, but frankly, they already have the best part of a 100-point lead over Ferrari, and I just cannot see them dropping that. Red Bull had a solid weekend and Max Verstappen managed to get his car on the podium for the second year in a row in Barcelona, and although he didn't finish that far ahead of the Ferraris, he did look relatively comfortable. He had a strong start and managed to get past Vettel and Leclerc through the first few corners and seemed pretty much in control from there. Max stated after the race that third was about where the Red Bull was pace-wise, but echoing what he said after qualifying on Saturday, he is keen to close the gap to Mercedes. I'm trying to maximise everything I have and I'm happy with today's result. We are P3 again, which is pretty representative of our pace at the moment, and it's great to score more good points. I knew we had a good chance in the race to fight with Ferrari, and that is what we did. At the start it was quite hectic with 3 cars going into one corner, so I decided to back out of it, but actually in the end I had a good line out of turn 2 into turn 3. To take P3 into that corner was very crucial, as from there on I could do my own pace and strategy, which worked out well. The Mercedes cars were out of reach, but we were very consistent and were of course happy to be on the podium. Everybody is very motivated to close the gap, and we will try a few things in the test next week that can give us a better direction in which way to work. I've been really impressed with Verstappen so far in 2019, and that line about backing off into turn 1 is a very good example of just how much he has matured in the space of a year. And to be honest, he could well be on for third in the Drivers' Championship in 2019. His teammate though had a good but quiet race, or at least that's how it felt as a viewer. Gasly did say that he was struggling towards the end of the first stint with grip and degradation, and also added that his front wing had picked up a lot of tyre rubber, which of course meant that his car was sliding around on track. He was though, once again, a way off his teammate, but it was more solid points in the bag, and to be fair, a good way to bounce back after that DNF in Baku. As for Red Bull on the whole though, it's Monaco next, and I fully expect that they will be challenging for pole position and the win. And right now, with the way Max Verstappen is driving and the general pace of the car, they look like they could be the most likely team to stop this Mercedes run of victories. We'll see though. Down at Ferrari, it was yet another very poor showing, well off the pace in qualifying, 8/10 off pole for Vettel, and in the race they were nowhere near up to speed with Mercedes. Throw into that yet more odd strategy calls and you really have to question what is going on there. Sebastian Vettel had a go into turn 1 at the start, locked up and flat spotted his tyre. I don't blame him for having a go, especially when post-race he admitted that it was his only chance of ever taking the silver arrows. But that lock-up massively compromised his race, and with the team dawdling over issuing team orders to let Leclerc through whilst Vettel was struggling, and then again later in the race to swap them back when Vettel had the faster tyre on, I feel like that probably cost them a podium. Following the race, Vettel took the time to explain what happened in turn 1 from his perspective. I wanted to brake latest. Obviously, Valtteri was also quite late and I could not really get in, and I couldn't see him, so I knew he was there. If I just turned in, which I think I could have managed, then he would have had nowhere to go and I would go the other way. It didn't work. Obviously, my race was a bit compromised the first stint. We didn't have many laps where I could go the pace of the car. I think we could have been strong in the first stint with the soft tyre. Charles had a good first stint, but on my side I had a flat spot to manage, so lost quite a lot. Charles Leclerc, who was put onto the hard tyre at his first pit stop and probably would have taken them to the end had the safety car not been deployed, has once again come out to defend Ferrari's strategy calls. For now on the race, there was absolutely no problems for me. Obviously in the first stint I was quicker, but it's always difficult when a driver who is behind tells you he is quicker. We always want to be ahead. After that they let me pass and let me make my race, and then we swapped again when I was struggling. I don't think it was a bad call to go to the end of the race with the hard tyres, but unfortunately we didn't make them work as expected. We were struggling quite a lot with the rears on my side, but it was the same on the mediums to be honest. We need to look into that. Many expected that Spain would see Ferrari turn up and at least challenge Mercedes, especially with the upgrades made to the car. However, they look a long way off challenging and something needs to change at that team, perhaps the car's concept. Mattia Binotto has admitted that there is an issue with understeer balance and the car not having enough downforce. He then added, quote, "How long it takes to address is difficult to answer. It may even be the car concept." So a lot of work to do at Ferrari, but that does not sound like an overnight fix. With the top 3 out of the way, then let's have a run through the rest of the field, starting with Haas, and my word, Kevin Magnussen was not in Gunther Steiner's good books after that race. Following the safety car, Magnussen and teammate Romain Grosjean got wrapped up in a fantastic battle, to be fair, with aggressive wheel-to-wheel racing. Yes, that does still exist somewhere in Formula 1. Grosjean had to leave the track a few times at turn 1, and there was even contact between the two of them. And once the checkered flag had fallen, Gunther Steiner came over team radio and instructed Magnussen to go and see him immediately after the race, and Grosjean was told to stay calm, with the team boss telling him it would be sorted out. To the media post-race, Steiner said, "I spoke with both drivers straight after the race. We cleared the air, we are okay. It's neither here nor there, and I told them, I'm not sitting here until midnight to look at videos to determine whose fault it is. We got away quite lucky even if we lost some points, but in the end we had 2 cars in the points, which is always good. They have a good relationship between the two of them. They had that before, and I wanted to make sure that there is nothing said from one of them which upsets the other one. I think it looked worse than it was, the whole scenario." As you'd probably expect after staring down the barrel of a Gunther Steiner rant, neither driver had much to say on the matter. Probably best they lay low for a while. At McLaren, it was a positive day for Carlos Sainz, who once again in Spain made it into the points. The Spaniard has finished every single one of his F1 races in Barcelona in the points, an impressive run. However, teammate Lando Norris had a disappointing day. Slow off the line, he was swamped on the first lap and lost a lot of places. Then, with a few laps left to go, he got into a fight with Lance Stroll, which resulted in both of them colliding and retiring from the race. Norris went for a move around the outside of turn 1, but Stroll held him off. The Brit then tried to carry the move up the inside of turn 2, but the Racing Point turned in and, well, yeah, crash, basically. The stewards investigated the incident after the race and decided it was a racing incident, as no driver was wholly at fault, and I think that's a fair call, to be honest. Yes, of course, Norris could have backed out of it, and yes, of course, Stroll could have left him more space. But ultimately, neither did. I will say though, thank you Lando and Lance, that sounds like a really rubbish kids TV show, but anyway, thank you for at least making the last 15 laps moderately interesting. It was another good Sunday for Toro Rosso as they picked up some more points. Daniel Kvyat pulled off some good overtakes, including a seriously cracking move around the outside of turn 4 on Kimi Raikkonen. Yeah, okay, he was on fresh tyres and obviously had more grip, but it was still a properly good move. Teammate Alex Albon narrowly missed out on the points and was fighting Romain Grosjean hard over the last few laps to try and grab that 10th place. However, obviously never got that move done. But there was a bit of a blunder at their pit stop under the safety car. So as the safety car was deployed, the team took the option to double stack their drivers. A miscommunication, though, meant that although Kvyat was first into the box, the mechanics actually had Albon's tyres ready and not Kvyat's. That cost them a lot of time and a few positions as well, and could well have cost Albon that final points paying position, but of course we'll never know. Renault were poor, quite frankly. Again, Nico Hülkenberg was knocked out in Q1 again, and Daniel Ricciardo only just scraped through Q1 again. To be fair though to Hülkenberg, it was only 13th place, but he did well to make his way back there from the pit lane and managed to make the one-stop strategy work as well. Although he was obviously struggling for pace compared to others who had made a second stop under the safety car. Daniel Ricciardo wasn't too far away from picking up a point, and the Aussie believes that the car was quicker than the results showed, and that was also echoed by Cyril Abiteboul, who also feels that points were achievable. He went on to add that the team are not in line with the targets they've set. Not good from a team who, given the investment they've poured in and the improvements they've made in recent years, should be best of the rest at the very least. A lot of work to do. But in their defence, I guess, although the results do look poor on paper, there does appear to be some solid pace in that car, so there is a good foundation there. Another team who had a difficult weekend were Alfa and Romeo. They never really looked like they had the speed to challenge the top 10 and were well adrift of where many expected them to be. Kimi Raikkonen ran wide at turn 4 on the first lap, which saw him fall to the back of the field, obviously compromising his race. And although he feels like the pace was in the car to challenge those ahead towards the end of the race, he is already focused on that midweek test and sees it as a good opportunity to find out what the problems were and to resolve them. Antonio Giovinazzi was equally disappointed. He explained after the race that the team tried the different strategies to try and gain some positions, but it didn't work because, quote, the pace just was not there. And team boss Frederick Vasseur said that the result belittles the team's real level and felt like it was just one of those weekends where everything went against them. After a really impressive showing in Baku, Racing Point came back down to earth with a bump in Spain. Pretty much right from the off, they struggled and were a long way short of grabbing any points. Sergio Perez describing it as a weekend to forget and is hopeful that the team will improve over the coming races. His teammate didn't finish, of course, following his collision with Lando Norris late on, but honestly, just like Perez, Stroll just did not have the race pace to fight his way through the field. And by the way, the Canadian spoke about the incident with Norris stating, quote, unfortunately, there is not enough space for two cars and there was not much I could do. And as always, last up, it's Williams. George Russell called it a standard Grand Prix for the team as he once again finished ahead of his teammates. However, post-race, Robert Kubica offered an explanation as to why Russell was able to pass him, claiming he was distracted. I lost a position to George but regained it in turn 4. My first stint wasn't looking too bad, but before he overtook me, I got called to change a few things on the steering wheel and wasn't expecting him to be so close. I wasn't practically ready to defend, and by the time I saw him in the mirror, it was too late. I will just quickly say that following qualifying, Williams did look a little bit closer to the field. Not by much, but it was a little bit of an improvement. But after the race, that improvement just wasn't there and they were once again cut well adrift. On to my driver of the day then, and I'm going to go with Daniel Kvyat. Yes, absolutely, Lewis Hamilton drove brilliantly to control the race and take the win. And yes, Max Verstappen once again outdrove his car to grab that podium. But Kvyat actually gave us some racing, including that excellent overtake around the outside of Kimi Raikkonen. And given the pit stop blunder, if you like, did well to recover and end up 9th. It was another strong and mature drive from the Russian who frankly has impressed me all weekend. Before I finish then, let's have a quick look at the championship standings, starting with the drivers, and Lewis Hamilton is now top of the Drivers' Championship, 112 points on the board, with Valtteri Bottas dropping to second on 105 and Max Verstappen climbing to third on 66. Sebastian Vettel is fourth on 64 with teammate Charles Leclerc just behind in fifth and Pierre Gasly in sixth. Kevin Magnussen currently leads the best of the rest fight with 14 points. Sergio Perez and Kimi Raikkonen both have 13, and Lando Norris rounds out that top 10 with 12 points on the board. In the Constructors' Championship, Mercedes are gone, basically. 217 points already with Ferrari on 121. Red Bull sit third on 87 with Ferrari in sight, but well clear of McLaren in fourth, who have 22. Racing Point, despite not scoring, remain in fifth place on 17 with Haas on 15 and Alfa Romeo on 13. Renault remain down in 8th on 12 points with Toro Rosso improving their tally to 6. And Williams are still in 10th and are yet to score. That is it then for the Spanish Grand Prix debrief, and in the comment section down below you can let me know your thoughts on the race weekend and also who was your driver of the day. Now, I will be back soon with more content as ever, but in the meantime you can follow me over on social media. The links to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook and to Discord are all in the description down below. But as ever, thank you for watching and I will catch you all in the next one. Bye bye.